ducking, dodging. You got to look both ways before you cross the street. Everybody's taking shots at us, Caitlin Clark fans, the Chicago Sky vloggers, the content creators, the Angel Reese content creators are firing at us nonstop. We got to keep our head on a swivel, y'all. We got to keep our head on a swivel. Stephanie White's a bum and needs to be fired. That's what's going on. Did y'all see the interviews today? Sophie Cunningham just exposed Stephanie White, flat out exposed her.
Title: The Indiana Fever are falling apart, and everyone knows why. Something is seriously wrong with the Indiana Fever. And if you've been following this season, you've probably seen the warning signs yourself. Fans are frustrated. Analysts are confused. And now, even players around the league are starting to speak up. The team's coaching decisions have left everyone scratching their heads, and the finger is pointing straight at head coach Stephanie White. Let's talk about what's really going on. According to Coach White herself, the Fever are at...
Stephanie White, in her post-game interview, confirms the team looks the best when the ball is in Caitlin's hands, when she is the main decision maker, and everything revolves around her. Yet for some strange reason in the Valkyries game yesterday, after witnessing that in real time, Stephanie White decides to change things up, slow the things down, take Caitlin out the game, and she complains that the team suddenly loses focus.
Their best when Caitlin Clark runs the show. When the ball is in her hands, the offense flows, the crowd gets into it, and the team looks alive. But in their latest game, that plan got tossed aside. Instead of letting Clark lead, they slowed things down, took the ball out of her hands, and everything fell apart. This isn't just poor judgment, it's baffling. Because let's be honest, fans aren't showing up in droves to see team fundamentals.
Sophie Cunningham went on the record to basically say what I've been saying and everyone else. Give the damn ball to Caitlin. Whatever offense we running right now, it is not working. You have to give the ball to Caitlin and let Caitlin do what Caitlin has to do. Now, we done seen this formation time and time again. Now, I know some people might want to say Caitlin Clark was off the ball somewhere at Iowa. She was a little bit in years past.
They're coming to see Caitlin. Period. She's not just another player, she's the engine, the system, the reason the arenas are packed. You could surround her with 5 mannequins and people would still pay to watch. And yet, for some reason, the Fever keep trying to run an offense that sidelines their biggest asset. Why? We're 20 games into the season, and this team is still below .500.
It's a rough time being an Indiana Fever fan right now. Things is getting real crucial. It's real serious. We're almost 20 games into the season, and we are below 500. This is embarrassing. I would have, at the beginning of the season, I would have bet you my last breath. I would have bet my life, my house, everything, that there was a 0% chance that we would be under 500 19 games into the season. This is crazy.
Acceptable for a roster with this much talent, and for a player who's already changed the face of women's basketball. Right now, being a Fever fan feels like watching a slow-motion train wreck. You hope for the best, but every game brings another head-scratching decision. And what's worse? It feels like the people in charge don't even realize what they're doing wrong. There are voices around the league now saying what fans have been shouting for weeks: give the ball to Caitlin and get out of the way. Instead, what we're seeing is a coach who keeps tightening the leash, who seems more interested
to watch a 19-point loss, Caitlin Clark's return, in which, since this is a lady we're talking about, it looks like Stephanie White has spaded Caitlin Clark, for lack of a better way of putting it. If it was a dude, I'd say neutered, but, you get my point. She has taken away Caitlin Clark's greatest asset, which is the creator and instigator of offense.
In controlling the game than letting her players thrive. It's like watching a director take the spotlight off the star actress halfway through the show and wonder why the audience stops clapping. Some say Clark's being contained. Others say she's being managed. But let's call it what it is: she's being held back. This isn't a team sport in the traditional sense. This is basketball entertainment. And in that world, Caitlin Clark isn't just a player, she's the headline act. When you start benching or muting your main attraction, you're not just hurting the team. You're insulting the fans who pay to watch her work. At this point, fans are tired of excuses. They want results. And more importantly, they want to see Caitlin do what she does best: lead, create, and compete. It's not too late for the Fever to turn this around. But it starts with one simple step: trust the system that's been working all along. And that system is Caitlin Clark. Because sometimes the truth needs a microphone and a little bit of attitude. And just when it couldn't get spicier, in comes Sophie Cunningham with that comment. Players on their own islands. Like this is a tropical cruise and not a professional basketball team. The WNBA suddenly turned into Survivor Indiana. Fever edition, where trust is a myth.
In the post-practice interviews, had this to say.
I think that everyone saw that. We kind of got some flow when Kate was hurt and our offense was clicking. But now we have to have a new offense when she's in there because she just brings that much to the game, and so we have to adjust. And I think all of us just want it now. We know
We had some flow, but when Caitlin's here, we need to play a different style because she's that great. That is what Sophie Cunningham just said.
Chemistry is folklore, and everyone's too busy paddling solo to notice the boat is sinking. And here's Sophie, grabbing the megaphone and pointing out what's been painfully obvious to anyone with 2 eyes and even half a basketball brain. The team isn't just disjointed. They're actively allergic to cohesion. It's one long group project where no one wants to open the Google Doc. And Sophie, standing there going, hey, maybe we should, work together. But instead of addressing the dysfunction, the powers that be decided to keep spinning the wheel of maybe this will click eventually, as if chemistry is going to magically appear like a limited time coupon. 2/3 into the season, and the head coach is still scribbling on a whiteboard like she's lost in a labyrinth of her own creation. Still figuring it out at game 20. That's not
years past. But when Caitlin Clark has become the Caitlin Clark we loved and we've grown to see, Caitlin Clark has the ball in her damn hands, bro. Caitlin Clark has the ball in her hands, and she said verbatim herself that they run a read and react offense. You know what that is? The ball's in Caitlin's hands. Now, there has been a large speculation that Caitlin Clark pretty much wants to go to New York and play with Sandy Bernardello in the gang.
strategy. That's malpractice in a headband. Imagine having Caitlin Clark on your roster and treating offensive rhythm like a scavenger hunt. The plays look less like designed action and more like improvised street performance art. I like how she looks, but man, it's tough. It's tough to get that growing to 100%. But I like the mindset thinking about her long term, right? Long term. And that's what matters the most. No, we are trying to push the Indiana Fever to win a championship right now. This year. I know a lot of fans would love to see it, but at the end of the day, man, if Caitlin Clark has to sit out for the rest of the year, you'll be able to accept that? Would that be something you can live with? You know what I'm saying. Not saying she has to, or anything like that. I'm just saying, if that came about. Meanwhile, Sophie's just calling it like she sees it because she's done pretending, done tiptoeing around the obvious. And let's be honest, if
Bert, I don't care about the rest of what she has to say. It's going to sound good, I'm sure. It's going to be her refusing to take accountability, I'm sure. It's going to be her putting the onus on the players, I'm sure. Not owning up to her, I'm sure. But what she said right there, other than 2 5-minute spurts, the team lost focus, didn't pay attention to detail, so on and so forth. That is her not realizing that she's accountable for what transpired.
Players are feeling disconnected. It's not a vibe issue. It's a leadership problem, and it's been slow roasting since day one. That island analogy wasn't just a stray remark. It was a full-blown diagnosis. You've got scorers not getting touches, defenders not getting direction, and rotations that look like someone's doing Sudoku. Midame. There's no system. There's no accountability. There's just a head coach with a playbook full of fog and a locker room full of polite shrugs. The disconnect is louder than the national anthem, and Sophie's the only one brave enough to harmonize with it. But the kicker, people still act surprised that she's saying these things. A roulette wheel wearing a whistle. It's not that. The team doesn't have talent. They've got plenty. But talent without direction is just chaos and sneakers. You can't build chemistry by accident. You can't expect synergy when no one's allowed to build trust. And you definitely can't keep shuffling lineups like a DJ trying to save a dying dance floor. So today, lads, obviously there's gonna be a lot of videos about Stephanie White because we need to be honest.
I've never thought that I would be saying this late last year in November when the Indiana Fever hired Stephanie White. I never thought I'd be saying this right now, only 19 games into the 2025 season, that it's time for Stephanie White to go. The Indiana Fever needs to fire Stephanie White. This is not going to work. What we're seeing is not going to work. It's just not going to work.
Here. Stephanie White's not going to change. Stephanie White is not going to change. Stephanie White is not going to stop until her style of drag everyone down to their level basketball prevails. She's not going to change. And I do not think that we're going to see very much of him, Stephanie White, or very much of the Fever playing good basketball under Stephanie White. So when Sophie speaks up, it cuts through the noise like a chainsaw at a poetry reading. She's not whispering suggestions. She's delivering evaluations. And yes, it stings, but the truth usually does. Especially when it's been buried under layers of deflection, media jargon, and post-game interviews so vague you'd think they were written by AI trying not to get sued. And what's the response from the sidelines? More ambiguity, more trust the process. Energy, as if the process hasn't been a slow descent into mid-season purgatory. It's like watching someone refuse to read the instruction manual while assembling IKEA furniture, then blaming the screws for not having enough chemistry with the wooden panels. Meanwhile, fans are watching Sophie like she's the one sane person in a horror movie full of bad decisions. She sees the ghosts, points at the haunted basement, and everyone else is still like, no, let's split up and investigate separately. Late last year, in November, when the Indiana Fever hired.
So I like how she looks, but man, it's tough. It's tough to get that growing to 100%. But I like the mindset, thinking about her long term, right? Long term. And that's what matters the most. I know we are trying to push the Indiana Fever to win a championship right now this year. I know a lot of fans would love to see it. But at the end of the day, man, if Caitlin Clark has to sit out for the rest of the year, would y'all be able to accept that? Would that be something you can live with? You know what I'm saying? Not saying she has to or anything like that. I'm just saying if that came about.
Stephanie White, I never thought I'd be saying this right now, only 19 games in to the 2025 season, that it's time for Stephanie White to go. The Indiana Fever needs to fire Stephanie White. This is not going to work. What we're seeing is not going to work. It's just not going to work. Stephanie White, yesterday, reduced Caitlin Clark to a role player. She turned a star into a role player, like we've never seen before. While Tyler Marsh is trying to turn Angel Reese into a star, Stephanie White is trying to turn Caitlin Clark into a role player. Let that sink in. We're going to talk about that right now. Welcome back everyone to another edition of Rudy's Rant. Her game, her way with Miss Basketball. We talk facts over feelings. I'm your host. Of course, there's no connection among players. They haven't been given the space to build it. What they've been given is a system that doesn't exist, expectations that are sky high, and a coaching philosophy that reads like a Mad Lee. The whole setup is a masterclass in confusion. You've got rookies carrying veteran burdens.
So today, lads, obviously there's going to be a lot of videos about Stephanie White because we need to be honest here. Stephanie White's not going to change. Stephanie White is not going to change. Stephanie White is not going to stop until her style of drag everyone down to their level basketball prevails. She's not going to change. And I do not think that we're going to see very much of Stephanie White, or very much of the Fever playing good basketball under Stephanie White.
You've got shooters playing hot potato with cold hands, and you've got Sophie standing in the middle of it all, torching the Nonsense with a flamethrower of truth. It's not about being negative. It's about being real. She's not attacking players. She's advocating for them. She wants a system that honors talent, not one that buries it beneath passive aggression and outdated schemes. She's not here to coddle egos or babysit broken game plans. Urgency, reality. This isn't some mid-tier roster begging for scraps. This is a team with legitimate firepower being managed like a high school drama club lost backstage. And while others pretend everything's fine, Sophie's kicking over the prop table and asking why there's still no dress rehearsal. With Stephanie White under fire by Fever fans, she blasted her team after the squad's loss to the Golden State.
Late last year in November when the Indiana Fever hired Stephanie White. I never thought I'd be saying this right now, only 19 games into the 2025 season, that it's time for Stephanie White to go. The Indiana Fever needs to fire Stephanie White. This is not going to work. What we're seeing is not going to work. It's just not going to work. Stephanie White yesterday reduced Caitlin Clark to a role player. She turned a star into a role player like we've never seen before. While Tyler Marsh is trying to turn Angel Reese into a star, Stephanie White is trying to turn Caitlin Clark into a role player. Let that sink in. We're going to talk about that right now. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Rudy's Rant, Her Game, Her Way Women's Basketball. We talk facts over feelings. I'm your
State Valkyries, which was a rough watch. No question about it, says. There is correct, but she's going to get criticism because of the mixing of the lineups and the way Caitlin Clark was utilized, or that the idea of playing Caitlin Clark off the ball, which has been an on and off topic all season long. The insanity isn't Sophie's commentary, it's that what she's saying still needs to be said. It's 20 games in, and the head coach looks like she's still waiting for a starter pack to arrive in the mail. At this point, they've played more games than there are letters in incompetence, and the offense still has less flow than a broken water fountain. That's not progress. That's an endless cycle of, well, maybe next time. And still, through all the confusion and forced smiles, Sophie's standing her ground, not flinching, not softening, because she knows what the rest of the league is whispering. If Caitlin Clark played for a different team, we'd be seeing nightly highlights instead of therapy sessions.
With Stephanie White under fire by Fever fans, she blasted her team after the squad's loss to the Golden State Valkyries, which was a rough watch. No question about it, says there is correct. But she's going to get criticism because of the mixing of the lineups and the way Caitlin Clark was utilized, or the idea of playing Caitlin Clark off the ball, which has been an on and off topic all season long.
She knows this roster isn't the problem. It's the direction, the game plan. Maybe the system would finally reflect the talent it was gifted. Until then, it's island living, a team adrift, a coach with a compass that spins. And Sophie once again saying what everyone else is too afraid to admit, that insanity is doing the same thing 20 times and still calling it a strategy.